Today's Tech Talk, DevOps Edition, is focused on how to create custom dashboards and alerts to achieve the best mean time to detection. Tech Talks are a series of short webinars that are deep dives for technical practitioners. I value your time today, and I'm excited to share with you these best practices so that you can leverage them in your daily role. My name is Jonathan Campos, and I'm a Senior Product Marketing Manager focused on observability, and I'm excited to be here with you on today's Tech Talk. Let's get started. For our agenda today, we'll go over what are dashboards, built-in versus custom versus user. We'll then also discuss dashboard groups and permissions, look into sharing dashboards, cloning and mirroring dashboards, what are alerts and detectors, and finally, we'll talk about some additional resources to continue your Splunk journey. Telemetry aids observability. Without telemetry, we wouldn't really understand what's going on. And telemetry data isn't observability itself. OpenTelemetry is how we get this telemetry, and the telemetry data can include traces, logs, and metrics. Now we need a solution that can help us understand our telemetry. We need to have an easy way of visualizing and understanding just exactly what's going on. This is where dashboards come in. Well-designed dashboards can help you provide useful and actionable insight into your systems at a simple glance. And dashboards can be complex or can simply contain a few charts that drill down into the data that you really want to see. Splunk Observability Cloud provides 3 types of dashboards that help you really become successful to understand your data. We have built-in dashboards, which are pretty much out-of-the-box dashboards, custom dashboards, which are ones that you can build on your own and can be associated to groups, and then of course we have user dashboards, which is where you store your own dashboards. This is kind of like your own individual workspace within Observability Cloud. Now, when it comes to dashboards, they're compiled of different charts. Here's an example of a chart showing the amount of services running within an AWS Elastic Container Service deployment. We can easily see that we're running 13 services. We can easily move this chart to our custom dashboard along with any other chart that's best fit for you or your team. Now, when it comes to dashboard groups, you can create custom dashboard groups for other people in your organization to have easy access to dashboards in a given group. You have the option to create a dashboard group when you're saving a dashboard, or you can create a group from scratch. We're going to take a look at how to create these groups in our demo coming up. Now, when it comes to dashboard groups, you can easily specify who can see and edit your dashboard groups and dashboards to help you manage read and write permissions. Now, Observability Cloud lets you view, grant, and revoke permissions. If you want to get read or write permissions for a dashboard group or dashboard, you'll simply want to modify permissions. First, determine who already has permissions by displaying the permissions list, and then you can go ahead and ask a user who has permissions to add you to the permissions list. We're going to also see that later on in our demo. Sharing dashboards is great for collaboration. Sharing dashboards allows you to share a copy of the current state of a dashboard. Sharing a copy of your dashboard is particularly useful for when you want to make a change that you want to show to team members, but you don't want to modify the original dashboard. In the Share menu, there's 2 different ways to share a dashboard, via a link or specifically adding the recipient. You also have the ability of importing and exporting dashboards. You can import and export dashboards directly from the UI. When you export a dashboard, it exports as a JSON file for other users to import their dashboard to a given group. Exporting a dashboard is also a way to maintain a backup of the dashboard. Now, one thing that you'll want to keep in mind is that Splunk does not support editing the exported JSON file, which could negatively impact the import. Now, when it comes to cloning a dashboard, cloning is great for easy editing of existing dashboards. And there's several reasons that you want to go ahead and clone a dashboard. Cloning allows you to modify an existing dashboard without making any changes to the original. You can also clone a dashboard that is read-only in the event that you don't have write permissions to modify it. Now, dashboard mirroring is pretty useful. Dashboard mirroring allows the same dashboard to be added to multiple dashboard groups or multiple times to one dashboard group. A dashboard can be edited from any of its mirrors, and the changes made are reflected on all mirrors. However, the dashboard name, filters, and dashboard variables can all be customized at the mirror level without affecting other mirrors. These local customizations make it pretty useful to allow users to see the same metrics in the same charts, but the mirror can be filtered so that each user is presented with the metrics relevant to them. One great example here to use dashboard mirroring is when you create standard dashboards for the use by teams throughout your organization. Say you want all teams to see any changes to the charts in the dashboard. You'll want members of each team to be able to set dashboard variables and filter customizations that's relevant for their requirements. Now, detectors, events, alerts, and notifications keep you informed when a certain criteria is met. Let's say you want a message to be sent to Slack or an email to the ops team when CPU utilization has reached the 95th percentile, or if you want to be notified when the number of concurrent users is approaching a limit that might require you to spin up some additional resources. This is where you want to take advantage of these features. Now, detectors monitor signals on a plotline, as on a chart, and triggers alert events. Now, you can configure an alert to send a notification using Splunk on Call, Slack, email, and more. Now let's take a look at a walkthrough on how we can create custom dashboards and alerts. In this demo, we'll go over some dashboards so that we can take a look at some useful insights into our systems and services. We'll take a look at some alerts and also how we can build charts. Let's get started. To start things off, we're going to go into our dashboards menu. And within our dashboards menu, you can see here that we have tons of built-in dashboards, from ActiveMQ dashboards, GCP dashboards, Azure dashboards, AWS dashboards, and so on. We're going to go ahead and start off with the AWS Optimizer dashboard. This is a great dashboard to visualize your EC2 costs, your EC2 reservations, and just have a good overall understanding of your costs within AWS. We'll first take a look at this dashboard. You can see that it gives us a breakdown of the costs and counts of what we have going on. For an example, we can see all of our EC2 instances that are running, the count. We can get a breakdown of the cost of running instances by instance type, and so on and so forth. It's a very useful dashboard just to get a good overall understanding of how much things are costing within AWS. The EC2 reservations dashboard here is also another great dashboard to get a good understanding of how many reserve instances you're using and just see how much you can potentially save per day. So again, this demo data here just kind of breaks things down where we can see we're using about 98.8% of our reserve instances and so on and so forth. So this is a pretty cool dashboard here to get a good understanding. So this is just one example of our built-in dashboards. So going back to our dashboards menu here, we can also take a look at our Apache dashboard as another great example, where we'll take a look at the Apache web server. You can see a quick breakdown here of the requests per second here once we choose a host. So let's go ahead and choose this particular host here. And again, you can see a lot of this sample data. If you're running Apache, this is helpful to, again, just understand the requests per second that you're receiving, the bytes per request, and so on and so forth. And the great thing about this is you can easily customize it. You can see what exactly is involved to create this, but we're going to get into details about that here in just a minute. All right. So the next thing that I want to cover is custom dashboards. So let's go back to our dashboard menu. And within our dashboard menu, you can see that we have quite a few custom dashboards here saved. And everyone here that shares this environment can pretty much share dashboards. They can save their dashboards to fit their profile and fit their use case to specifically the data that they want to look at. For an example, we have one here called item sales, where we can get a good idea of the item sales that someone's created. And we can see the sales by tenant based on a given environment. And while we don't have a lot of data in this environment, this is just to kind of give you an example of what the power of custom dashboards has to offer. So we can break it down by specific environment. For an example, Bill's environment over here, you can see a breakdown of the revenue, you can see a breakdown of sales by tenant, and so on and so forth. So we're just using his data to just break things down so that he has a good understanding of just item sales. Going into our dashboards menu again, the main question is, how can we create custom dashboards and what are charts? All right, let's take a look. So the first thing that we're going to want to do is we're going to want to create a dashboard group. This way we can just kind of keep all of our dashboards together. To make that happen, we'll click on this plus symbol here. That's within, of course, our dashboards menu. So we'll click on that, and then we'll click on dashboard group. We're going to go ahead and name this dashboard group Tech Talk Dashboard Group 1. We'll leave the description blank. Now, one thing that I want to bring to your attention is the dashboard group permissions. We can restrict write access, we can restrict read and write access, and we can also allow everyone to read or write these dashboards. And what does this mean? Of course, this simply means that anyone can modify these dashboards. We'll leave that permission set right now for that, and we'll go ahead and click Save. Now that we have our empty dashboard here and we have our dashboard group, let's go ahead and add a new chart. We'll go ahead and click on New Chart, and once we do that, you can see that we have an empty chart. And what we're going to go ahead and do is search for a given signal. That signal, of course, is the data that's coming in for a given service or a given platform. In this case, we're going to go ahead and target Amazon EC2 CPU utilization. Now we can easily search and just type AWS and we'll pop up right here. And of course, we do have all of the other metrics that we can take advantage of here. And we're specifically targeting AWS EC2 utilization, EC2 CPU utilization, that is. But you can also browse, by the way. So say, for an example, you're not necessarily sure what category or what that name is. You could say, for an example, want to target, let's say, Kubernetes data. You can go ahead and select Kubernetes and then have a look at all of the metrics that you can select from to create your chart. So now that we know that we're targeting AWS EC2 CPU utilization, we'll go ahead and select that. And we're going to go ahead and add a filter here so that we can filter the availability zone, for an example, of, let's say, US East 1A. And we're going to go ahead and say the AMI, how about the image, AWS image here. The image ID of AMI, how about 0E4DA? How about that one? Let's target that one. So we can go ahead and we have our analytics here, and we'll go ahead and add another metric here so that we can go ahead and choose the maximum amount by instance type. So what is this telling us here? This is simply breaking down the CPU utilization. We went ahead and changed from chart, that is, or from a line graph, that is, to a list. And what we did here is we broke down the actual CPU utilization by instance type, the maximum CPU utilization by instance type. And here what I want to go ahead and do is add another metric, and I'm going to add the AWS EC2 CPU utilization, again, filtering this down by availability zone of US East 1A, and the AMI of, let's find this image ID AWS, image ID, the same image ID, and let's go ahead and add the count. So we have a good perspective of just about the amount of instances running this particular image ID within US East 1A. So now that we know that we have 16, and you can see that broken down here, you can see a breakdown of the maximum CPU utilization for the given instance type. We can see that, ironically so, R5 extra large doesn't really play nice with this particular AMI. You can see the other instance types here are pretty low in CPU utilization. The maximum after just about, let's break this down over here. And let's go ahead and break this down over about a 5-minute interval. The most that's been used here is about 50% utilization here. So what does this tell us here? This particular chart breaks down for us and gives us an idea of this particular AMI, or this image ID, is in fact being overwhelmed with this instance type for CPU. So happens to be that R5 happens to be an instance type that you would leverage for high memory utilization, not CPU utilization. So this is a perfect way to identify if I'm actually getting the most out of my instance type. You can go ahead and change this instance type to reflect another instance type that may work better for this given AMI or this given image ID. So let's go ahead and hit save and close. We'll go ahead and name this chart AWS Instance Test CPU Util. Let's go ahead and hit OK. And now that we have that saved, we have that in our custom dashboard. And you can see that broken down. So it's as easy as that. And of course, you can start to add as many other charts that's fit for your team or for your organization. Just break it down based on the data that's coming in. So now what about alerts? How can we get alerted based on this given information? Well, that's very simple. You can easily get alerts by clicking on this bell, and we can do a CPU percent detector, a trend detector, and so on and so forth. Let's go ahead and create a new detector based on this given chart. Let's go ahead and create an alert rule. And you can see that all of your metrics are broken down here. Now, what we're going to go ahead and do is we are, of course, using the signals that are coming in, which is, of course, our EC2 CPU utilization, the maximum based on a given availability zone using this given AMI, broken down by instance type, and then, of course, the count. Let's say, for an example, we want to apply a static threshold that says anything above 40% CPU utilization, go ahead and alert me. And the great thing is that we can actually simulate this event and actually get a good idea just before we configure this alert to see if we're going to be really overwhelmed with alerts by actually seeing these triangles right here. You'll see that, for an example, this would trigger an alert, this event would trigger an alert, this would then clear the alert here based on this timetable, and then we would get more alerts and so on and so forth. So you may say, oh, you know what? I'm going to get too many alerts here. Let's go ahead and change my alert settings to anything above 60% utilization. Let's see what that looks like when we go ahead and simulate the events. And you can see the preview will break down here, and it'll break down about 8 alerts as opposed to what we had before, just as a simple example, right? So if we break this back down to 40% utilization, how many alerts are we going to get based on simulated events? All right, let's give that a second here to begin. And that'll give us about 10 alerts in a given day. So just to give you some perspective, right? So you can go ahead and play with this and say, okay, maybe I'm going to go ahead and do 80% utilization, and then maybe that'll give me less alerts. Again, whatever fits best for you based on what exactly it is that you're looking for. Then we can go ahead and proceed to the alert message, where we can then point an individual to a given runbook. And what this is like a given wiki page or a specific SOP that someone should follow based on a given alert. So say for an example, we'll send them to a given Confluence page where they have directions on what exactly it is that they need to do. We'll just say info.splunk.com/SOP100 so that they have a good idea of where to go. And tip, maybe use another instance type as a given example here. We can then go ahead and proceed to alert recipients. Go ahead and add a recipient. I'll go ahead and add myself. There I am right there. Or of course, we can go ahead and add an email, a given team. We can go ahead and tie our alerts to PagerDuty, ServiceNow, Slack, Splunk on Call, Microsoft Teams, and so on. We'll go ahead and choose my email address for now. We'll go ahead and say that, and we'll proceed to the alert activation. And then what this will do is this will start to send alerts to my email. So let's go ahead and activate the alert rule, and we're pretty much done. We're good to go. So it's as simple as that. Creating your own dashboards, taking advantage of the data that you have, and getting a good understanding of what exactly it is that you're looking for based on your needs. You get to customize these dashboards exactly to fit your needs. So again, you'll want to keep in mind that these well-designed dashboards can easily provide actionable insight into your system. And these dashboards can be as complex as you want them to be, or it can be just a few charts so that you can easily drill down on the data that you want to see. Then you can build your alerts based on this data and easily customize this environment. And the built-in dashboards, they're going to help give you an immediate visibility into some of the technologies and services being used in your environment. Thanks so much, and this concludes this demo. Thank you so much for attending today's Tech Talk. I really hope you enjoyed that demo. Before we wrap things up, I want to quickly share the resources available to you to continue your journey with observability. You will see these assets in a follow-up email as well as the recording. Don't forget that we also have an incredible community of Splunk users on our community site. You can search for the answers section on Splunk Observability Cloud and continue the conversation for this talk within the discussion section called Tech Talks. Here you will find great additional resources along with Splunk ideas, where you can submit new product enhancements or vote for current ideas from other customers. We really appreciate you taking the time out of your schedules to join us today. Be sure to tune back in for future Tech Talks.